This morning, you probably checked your phone before you even sat up. In that first 10 seconds, a dozen decisions got made for you. What's urgent, what's ignored, what kind of day you're already having. You didn't choose any of it. It was just waiting there, already decided. Now rewind 50,000 years. A man wakes up on the ground beside a dying fire, and nothing has been decided for him yet. No messages, no schedule, no idea what year it even is, because years haven't been invented. He owns a spear, a hide, and whatever is left of last night's meat. And his first task of the day is a question you have never once had to ask yourself from nothing. What should I actually do today? Your brain is probably already arguing with this. It's telling you that sounds like a nightmare, not a freedom, because everyone knows ancient life was short, brutal, and one bad week from starvation. That's the story most of us were taught. But the evidence buried in the ground tells a stranger story than that, and it starts with two skeletons. At a site in Illinois called Dickson Mounds, a researcher named George Armelagos studied skeletons spanning a transition period from people who hunted and gathered to their descendants who farmed the same land. One set of skeletons is tall, strong, and shows little disease. The other set is shorter, riddled with cavities, and shows the specific bone damage of repetitive, exhausting labor. Take a guess which one belonged to the farmers. Most people assume farming meant an easier, safer life with stored food and a roof. It's the opposite. The healthier skeletons belonged to the hunter-gatherers. The damaged ones belonged to the farmers who came after them. And this isn't one strange coincidence in one American cornfield. Similar comparisons from sites across Europe and the Middle East show the same pattern. When farming replaced foraging, height dropped, disease increased, and in many places lifespans got shorter, not longer. So let's actually walk through what a normal day looked like back when we were still just hunting and gathering. You wake up when your body is done sleeping, not when a machine tells you to. The fire from last night is still going, and people are already sitting around it, eating whatever's left, talking about where the water was good. If the last hunt was only a couple of days ago, nobody needs to hunt today. So you spend the morning fixing tools, and by early afternoon, the essential work is already finished. In 1963, an anthropologist named Richard Lee walked into the Kalahari Desert to study a group called the Jew/Hoansi, who were still living almost entirely off hunting and gathering. He expected to find people working every waking hour just to survive, because that's what every textbook at the time assumed. Instead, he followed them with a stopwatch and a notebook, and counted every hour they actually spent finding food. The number came out to around 17 hours a week. Not 17 hours a day. 17 hours across the entire week, which is less than 2.5 workdays. You'll personally clear that many work hours by Wednesday afternoon. So then, around 10,000 years ago, something changed everything, and it wasn't a disaster. It was a seed. In the region we now call the Fertile Crescent, humans began planting grain instead of only foraging for it, and on paper, that sounds like an obvious upgrade. Here's the trap hiding underneath that upgrade. More farmed food means more children survive, which means a bigger population, which means you need to farm even more land just to feed everyone. And once your group has grown too large to feed by hunting and gathering alone, there's no going back. You're locked in permanently, and so is every generation born after you. That's the mechanism behind those damaged skeletons at Dickson Mounds. Now fast forward again to the medieval period. If you were born a peasant, in most of the world, you almost certainly died a peasant. Your entire life revolved around farming land you didn't own, in exchange for protection you rarely needed. Most people never traveled more than a few dozen miles from their birthplace in their entire lives. And yet, this same era built cathedrals that took multiple generations to finish, and founded universities that are still standing today. Long-term thinking somehow survived, even inside short, hard, repetitive lives. Here's the part that surprises most people. From the Stone Age all the way through the medieval period, average life expectancy barely moved. That wouldn't change until something arrived that reshaped daily human life faster than anything before it. The Industrial Revolution. Starting in the late 1700s, machines began doing work that used to take entire villages, and people left farms in massive numbers to work in new industrial cities. In 1842, a British researcher named Edwin Chadwick published a sanitary survey of industrial towns, and the numbers he found were brutal. In parts of industrial Manchester, average life expectancy for laborers was reported at around 26 years, dragged down heavily by overcrowding, pollution, and disease-impacted housing. So progress didn't arrive evenly. For a lot of people, it arrived as a step backward before it became a step forward. But alongside that hardship came something genuinely new, change fast enough to happen inside one human lifetime. A person born before railroads existed could live to see electric lighting installed in their own home. That speed of change had simply never existed before in human history. Then came the 20th century, and the pace didn't slow down. It multiplied. Vaccines and modern medicine pushed global life expectancy up dramatically, in some regions nearly doubling within 100 years. Electricity, cars, telephones, and eventually television moved from luxury to basic expectation within a few decades. A person born in a house lit by oil lamps could, by the end of that same life, watch a man walk on the moon on a screen in their living room. So here's what all of this actually adds up to. For most of human history, meaningful change happened slower than a single human lifetime. A person could live and die in a world that looked almost identical to their grandparents' world. By the 20th century, that same person's grandchildren might live in a world their grandparents wouldn't even recognize. Same species, same basic needs: food, safety, rest, connection to other people. But the speed at which everything around those needs changed kept compounding, faster with every single era. You are not more evolved than the man who woke up beside that fire 50,000 years ago. You just inherited a world that changes faster than any human body was ever built to expect. And somewhere underneath your alarm clock, your inbox, and your never-finished to-do list, that same question is still sitting there, waiting, mostly unasked. What should I actually do today?